The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber stretched high above the gathered delegates. Rows upon rows of different alien species sat in their assigned sections, their various breathing apparatus and translation devices creating a low hum that filled the space. At the center podium stood Thomas Harrison, Earth's ambassador to the Council, his blue diplomatic uniform crisp despite the weight of what was about to happen. "The vote is now complete," announced Councillor Vextar, his forearms gesturing to the floating display above. Numbers glowed in bright red, 847 votes for expulsion, only 12 against. The chamber fell silent except for the soft clicking of recording devices. Thomas felt his heart sink but kept his face calm. Behind him, Captain Emma Foster stepped closer. She was young for a diplomatic aide, barely 30, but her sharp mind had helped Earth navigate council politics for 3 years. Now even her expertise couldn't save them. "The Terran Federation is expelled from the Galactic Council," Vextar continued. "This decision takes effect immediately. All human vessels must leave Council space within 7 standard days." Emma whispered urgently to Thomas. "Sir, we should appeal. The trade agreements alone." "No point," Thomas replied quietly. He had seen this coming for months. Ever since humans had started sharing their ideas about democracy and worker rights with other species, the Council had grown nervous. When 3 different alien civilizations began experimenting with elected governments instead of hereditary rulers, the Council's fear turned to panic. Thomas activated his speaking device. "Honorable Councillors, humanity requests to know the specific charges against us." Vextar's translator crackled as he responded. "Your species refuses to follow proper colonial expansion protocols. You encourage dangerous ideas of individual freedom among other species. Most seriously, you corrupt stable government systems with your concepts of democracy and equality." A ripple of agreement passed through many sections of the chamber. The Draknari delegation clicked their approval. The Silicon Collective's lights flashed in rhythm. These species had ruled their people the same way for thousands of years. The idea that ordinary citizens might choose their own leaders was terrifying to them. "Respectfully, Councillor," Thomas said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "We have never forced our ideas on anyone. When the Kepler Mining Consortium asked about our worker cooperation programs, we simply shared information. When the Zephyrians requested medical aid, we provided it freely. Is helping others now considered corruption?" "Your methods destabilize the natural order," replied Councillor ZYXRA from the Crystal Worlds. Her crystalline form glowed with agitation. "Species have their proper places in the galaxy. Humans disturb this balance with their chaotic thinking." Emma felt anger rising in her chest. She had worked tirelessly to build bridges between Earth and dozens of alien cultures. She had seen humans and aliens working together, creating new technologies, solving problems that neither could handle alone. The Council was throwing all of that away because they were afraid of change. Thomas remained calm. He had been a diplomat for 20 years and had learned to control his emotions. If sharing knowledge and treating all beings as equals is chaotic, then perhaps chaos is better than your order. The chamber erupted. Hundreds of delegates began speaking at once in dozens of languages. Some shouted in anger, others in support. The translation system struggled to keep up, creating a babble of overlapping voices. Vextar called for silence. "The decision is final. Human ships will be escorted from Council space. Any species that continue trading with Earth will face sanctions." Thomas gathered his papers slowly. He looked around the chamber one last time, meeting the eyes of delegates he had worked with for years. Some looked away in shame. Others, particularly from the younger species, watched him with something that looked like respect. "Very well," Thomas said into his communicator. "All Earth vessels, this is Ambassador Harrison. Begin Operation Exodus immediately." He paused, then added something that made several delegates lean forward. "Send word to our friends among the stars. They know where to find us." As the human delegation walked toward the exit, Captain Foster activated her personal communicator. "Admiral Stone, this is Foster. The vote went as expected. Begin Phase 2. "What's Phase 2? Asked Lieutenant James Murphy, another member of their team. Emma smiled grimly. "The Council thinks they're getting rid of a problem. They don't realize they're about to create a much bigger one." In the gallery above, observers from 23 different species watched the humans leave. These were representatives from civilizations that had grown tired of the Council's rigid rules. The Zephyrians, whose partnership with humans had led to breakthrough medical treatments. The Kepler Mining Consortium, whose workers had embraced human-style cooperation and increased their productivity by 300%. The Vegan Artistic Collective, whose members had found new inspiration in human creativity. As Thomas reached the chamber doors, he turned back one final time. Counselors, you believe you are protecting your power today. But power shared willingly is stronger than power held by force. You may discover this truth sooner than you think. The massive doors closed behind the human delegation with a soft sound that somehow seemed final. In the chamber, many delegates sat in uncomfortable silence. They had expelled Earth, but Thomas Harrison's words lingered in the air like a challenge. Outside the chamber, Emma activated her communicator again. Phase 2 is confirmed. The exodus begins now. Across the galaxy, human ships began moving toward the Rim territories, carrying with them something the Council had not expected. They were not alone. 6 months had passed since the Council voted to expel Earth. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood on the bridge of the Earthship Independence, watching the screens that showed dozens of vessels moving through space. But these were not just human ships. Mixed in with Earth's white and blue hulls were the organic curves of Zephyrian bioships, the geometric patterns of Kepler mining vessels, and the flowing artistic designs of vegan transport craft. Another convoy just jumped to hyperspace, reported Lieutenant Commander James Murphy from his station. That makes 43 groups this week alone. Rebecca nodded, studying the numbers on her display. What had started as Earth's forced removal had become something much larger. 23 different alien species had chosen to leave Council space alongside humanity. They were abandoning colonies they had built over centuries, giving up trade agreements worth billions of credits, all to follow Earth into the unknown regions of the galaxy. Admiral, came a voice from Captain Lucy Wright aboard the escort ship Defiance. We have a priority message from the Council patrol fleet. They want to talk. Put them through, Rebecca said. The screen flickered and showed Councillor Vextar's familiar four-armed form. But he looked different now. His usual calm confidence was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like panic. Admiral Stone, Vextar began, his translator crackling with static. This mass departure must stop immediately. The economic damage to Council space is severe. Trade routes are collapsing. 3 major industrial systems have gone dark. Rebecca kept her expression neutral. Counselor, no one is forcing these species to leave. They are making their own choices. You have manipulated them. Vextar's arms gestured wildly. You have filled their minds with dangerous human ideas about freedom and equality. They cannot survive without Council support. Behind Rebecca, Murphy quietly updated the fleet status on his screen. Another group of mixed vessels was preparing to jump. The Artistic Collective had sent their most precious cultural artifacts with this convoy, including original works that were thousands of years old. They were not planning to return. With respect, Counselor, Rebecca replied, these beings have survived for millions of years before joining the Council. I think they can manage without your support. Vextar's form leaned forward. You do not understand the complexity of galactic governance. These species need structure, guidance, proper authority. Without the Council's wisdom, they will fall into chaos. Rebecca almost smiled at that. She had spent the last 6 months watching humans and aliens work together in ways the Council claimed were impossible. Zephyrian engineers were improving human ship designs. Human doctors were learning new healing techniques from alien partners. Kepler miners and human workers were developing better safety protocols together. The cooperation was voluntary, creative, and incredibly effective. Counselor, Rebecca said, I have seen more innovation and progress in the past 6 months than in my previous 20 years of dealing with the Council. Maybe your idea of wisdom is actually holding everyone back. The transmission crackled with interference. When Vextar's image stabilized, his face showed clear frustration. Admiral, the Council is prepared to offer incentives for Earth and its allies to return. We can discuss modified membership terms. Modified how? Rebecca asked, though she already knew the answer would not be enough. Humans would have observer status rather than full voting rights. Your allied species would be permitted to maintain their current governments, but with Council oversight to prevent further, experimental policies. Captain Wright's voice came through the comm system from her ship. Admiral, the Zephyrian delegation wants to respond to that offer. A new voice joined the transmission. It belonged to Ambassador Tesya of the Zephyrians, her musical tones clear even through the translator. Councillor Vextar, my people remember what Council oversight means. For 300 years, we were forbidden to share our medical knowledge with other species. We watched beings suffer from diseases we could easily cure, all because the council said it would upset the balance of power. Another voice joined in. This was Captain Rux of the Kepler Mining Consortium, his gravelly tones unmistakable. The council told my workers they could not organize for better safety conditions. We lost thousands to preventable accidents because improving conditions might give miners too much influence. More voices began speaking, creating a chorus of complaints against council rule. The vegan collective talked about censored artwork. The Andromedan Trade Guild mentioned restricted technology sharing. Species after species listed ways the council had held them back, prevented cooperation, and maintained artificial barriers between different civilizations. Vextar tried to interrupt several times, but the voices continued. Finally, Rebecca raised her hand for silence. "Counselor," she said, "I think you have your answer. These species are not leaving because humans manipulated them. They are leaving because they finally have an alternative to your system." "This is madness," Vextar replied. "You cannot simply create a new galactic government. The logistics alone are impossible. Who will enforce laws? Who will mediate disputes? Who will maintain the trade networks?" Rebecca looked at the status board showing dozens of mixed species convoys working together smoothly. "We will figure it out as we go. Together. As equals." She cut the transmission before Vextar could respond. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Through the viewports, she could see another group of ships preparing for the jump to hyperspace. Former council vessels now flew alongside human ships, their crews learning to work as partners rather than subjects. "Set course for the Rim territories," Rebecca ordered. "And send a message to all convoy leaders. Tell them we are not just running away from something. We are running toward something better." As the Independence jumped to hyperspace, Rebecca thought about what they were building. It would not be easy. But for the first time in her career, she felt truly hopeful about the future. 2 years had passed since the Great Exodus began, and David Clark stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching something that should have been impossible. Below him, construction crews worked on the newest addition to their growing community. But these were not ordinary crews. Humans in environmental suits worked alongside Zephyrians whose natural biology let them survive in vacuum. Kepler miners used their powerful arms to move massive steel beams while vegan artists guided the placement with an eye for beauty that turned functional architecture into something magnificent. "The integration is working better than we hoped," said Dr. Helen Roberts, joining David at the viewing window. She was the station's chief science officer, and her excitement was obvious in her voice. "The Zephyrian neural networks are making our communication systems 40% faster. And somehow the vegan design principles are actually making the whole structure stronger, not just prettier." David nodded, still amazed by what they had built. The Terran Alliance, as they now called themselves, operated on ideas the Galactic Council had sworn would never work. Instead of rigid hierarchy, they used voluntary cooperation. Instead of species staying separate, they encouraged mixing and sharing. Instead of keeping technology secret, they made everything open for everyone to use and improve. "Sir," Commander Michael Thompson approached with a data pad in his hand. "We just received a report from the research vessel Discovery. Dr. Patricia Williams says her team has made a breakthrough." The holographic display activated, showing Williams in her laboratory. She looked tired but excited, her hair messy from long hours of work. "David, we did it. The open research program is paying off beyond our wildest dreams." Williams gestured to equipment behind her that seemed to blend technologies from different species. "By combining human engineering creativity with Zephyrian biological adaptation techniques and Kepler mineral processing methods, we have developed instant communication across any distance. No relay stations needed. No time delay. Perfect communication anywhere in the galaxy." David felt his heart race. Faster-than-light communication had been a dream for centuries. The Council had worked on it for thousands of years with little progress. But by allowing different species to share knowledge freely, the Alliance had accomplished it in just 2 years. "How is that possible?" Thompson asked. Williams smiled. "The Council always kept species working separately. Humans worked on engineering problems. Zephyrians worked on biological ones. Kepler focused on materials. But when you put all 3 approaches together and let them interact, you get solutions none of us could find alone." Through the observation window, David could see more proof of this cooperation. The residential sections of New Geneva Station housed families from 12 different species. Children played together in integrated schools. Adults worked in mixed teams. Marriage between different species was becoming common, creating new hybrid cultures that were richer than anything the galaxy had seen before. Send the communication technology specifications to all Alliance worlds, David ordered. Full open source, as always. Thompson looked surprised. Sir, this technology could give us a huge military advantage. Should we not keep some secrets? No, David replied firmly. The moment we start hiding knowledge is the moment we become like the Council. Our strength comes from sharing, not hoarding. Dr. Roberts pulled up another report on her tablet. The latest economic numbers are in. Alliance worlds have increased their technological development rate by 600% compared to their time under Council rule. Colony ships from our worlds are successfully settling in regions the Council said were too dangerous. And our agricultural output has tripled thanks to sharing farming techniques between species. David walked to another viewing port where he could see ships arriving and departing. The variety was incredible. Sleek human vessels mixed with organic Zephyrian ships that looked like they had grown rather than been built. Massive Kepler industrial ships carried raw materials while delicate vegan transports brought artwork and cultural treasures. All of them flew the simple blue and white flag of the Alliance. Commander Thompson, David said, what is the latest count of worlds wanting to join us? 4 to 7 applications this month, sir. We now have over 100 worlds and 40 different species in the Alliance. The applications are coming faster than we can process them. David felt a mixture of pride and concern. Growth was good, but they needed to be careful not to lose the cooperative spirit that made them strong. Make sure our integration teams are ready. Every new member needs to understand that this is not about replacing the Council's control with our control. This is about no control at all, just cooperation. Dr. Roberts looked up from her tablet. Sir, we are also receiving some concerning reports. 3 more Council species have formally requested to leave and join us. The Council's economic situation appears to be getting worse. Through the communication system, Captain Lucy Wright's voice came from the patrol ship Defiance. Alliance Command, this is right. We are detecting Council scout ships along our borders. They appear to be observing our activities but not approaching. David was not surprised. The Council had to be worried. Their rigid system was failing while the Alliance thrived. Let them watch. They might learn something. As David prepared to leave the observation deck, he took one more look at the construction below. Human and alien workers were installing the new communication array, their different abilities combining to accomplish the task faster than any single species could manage alone. You know what the best part is? Dr. Roberts said, following his gaze. They are not just working together. They are enjoying it. Look how they interact. David watched as a human engineer shared a joke with a Zephyrian colleague, their laughter somehow managing to cross species barriers. A vegan artist helped a Kepler miner position a component, and the miner responded with what appeared to be a compliment about the artistic design. This is what the Council never understood, David said quietly. Different species do not threaten each other. They make each other stronger. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 18 hours straight, and Councillor Vextar felt like his world was falling apart. The great crystal chamber that had once symbolized order and stability now echoed with angry voices and desperate arguments. Around him, delegates from 600 species argued about problems that seemed to have no solutions. The Andromedan Confederacy has officially withdrawn, reported his aide, a nervous young being whose translation device stuttered with stress. That makes 9 major species requesting departure this month alone. Vextar rubbed his forearms together, a sign of deep anxiety among his people. The holographic displays floating above the chamber showed the terrible truth in bright red numbers. Economic collapse, technological stagnation, and now open rebellion among member species. Everything the Council had built over thousands of years was crumbling. This is all the humans' fault, hissed Councillor ZYXRA from the Crystal Worlds. Her crystalline form glowed angry red. Their alliance is like a disease, spreading their chaotic ideas to our loyal members. We should have destroyed Earth when we had the chance. Destroyed them with what? Snapped Councillor Drex from the military worlds. His metallic voice carried frustration that surprised everyone. Drex had always been the Council's strongest supporter of force. Our last 3 attempts to stop rogue colonies ended in complete failure. Their ships are faster, their weapons more effective, their tactics unpredictable. Vextar studied the latest intelligence reports on his personal screen. The news was worse than most Council members knew. Alliance worlds were not just surviving without Council support, they were thriving beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their technology advancement rate had increased by 600%. Their colony ships were successfully settling in regions the Council had declared impossible to inhabit. Their response time to emergencies was putting Council forces to shame. Perhaps we should examine why they are succeeding, suggested a younger counselor from the Outer Rim worlds. The chamber fell silent at this unexpected statement. What if their methods actually work better than ours? The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Finally, Councillor Morks from the trade guilds activated his speaking device. I have been reviewing economic data. The Alliance worlds are producing innovations at rates we have never seen. Their open sharing of technology means improvements spread instantly across all their worlds. Meanwhile, our controlled research programs have slowed to almost nothing. You cannot seriously be suggesting we copy their chaotic methods, ZYXRA responded, her glow shifting to a deeper red. I am suggesting, Morks replied carefully, that we at least consider why 847 Council worlds voted to expel humanity, yet now nearly 100 species have chosen to join their alliance voluntarily. Vextar activated his own speaking device. The intelligence reports are concerning. Alliance colonies are not just surviving in hostile environments, they are making those environments flourish. Their medical advances have eliminated diseases that have plagued the galaxy for millennia. Their agricultural techniques have ended food shortages on dozens of worlds. He paused, looking around the chamber at faces that showed a mixture of anger, fear, and something he had never seen before in the Council, doubt. More troubling, Vextar continued, we have confirmed that 43 of our remaining member species are secretly conducting trade with Alliance worlds. They are ignoring our sanctions because Alliance goods are simply superior to anything produced under our system. The chamber erupted in chaos. Dozens of councillors began speaking at once, their translation devices creating a babble of overlapping complaints and accusations. Some demanded stronger enforcement of the sanctions. Others questioned whether the sanctions made sense at all. Through his private communication channel, Vextar received an urgent message from the Council's intelligence service. The news made his blood run cold. 3 major Council species were preparing formal withdrawal requests. If they left, it would trigger a cascade effect that might destroy the Council entirely. Order. Vextar called, using his authority to quiet the chamber. We have a more immediate crisis. The plague outbreak in the Outer Rim has worsened. Our medical ships report they cannot contain the spread. Councillor Hex from the medical worlds activated his device. Our traditional treatments are ineffective against this strain. We estimate it will reach the core worlds within 6 months if we cannot stop it. What about the Alliance? Asked the young councillor from before. Their medical advances are supposed to be revolutionary. We cannot ask them for help, ZYXARA declared. We expelled them. We sanctioned their allies. We have declared them enemies of galactic order. Through the Chamber's communication system came an unexpected transmission. Council session, this is Alliance Medical Ship Mercy. We are broadcasting an open cure formula for the Outer Rim plague. The treatment is available to all beings, regardless of political affiliation. The chamber fell completely silent. On the main display appeared the image of Dr. Patricia Williams, the human scientist whose breakthrough communications had amazed even Council researchers. Behind her stood medical officers from 6 different Alliance species. We have been monitoring the plague outbreak, Williams said calmly. Our integrated research teams have developed a cure using combined techniques from human, Zephyrian, and Kepler medical science. We are transmitting the complete formula now, free of charge. The display filled with medical data. Council health officials began frantically copying the information to their databases. Within minutes, they were confirming that the Alliance cure was not only effective but could be produced with materials available on any civilized world. As the transmission ended, Vextar looked around the chamber. The faces he saw were no longer angry or afraid. They were ashamed. They just saved millions of lives, whispered the young counselor. Lives in our space. Our people. And they asked for nothing in return. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Galactic Council session ended without reaching any decision. The delegates simply sat in silence, contemplating what they had lost when they chose control over cooperation. President David Clark stood on the command bridge of Terra Prime, humanity's newest and largest space station, watching emergency signals flood in from across the galaxy. The massive displays showed a terrifying sight. Ancient automated defense systems called the Sentinel Network had suddenly awakened after sleeping for millions of years. These machines, left behind by a long-dead civilization, were now attacking every living thing they encountered. Mr. President, Admiral Rebecca Stone reported from her command station, We have confirmation from 47 Alliance worlds. Their fleets are moving toward the danger zone. Response time is unprecedented, most will arrive within 6 hours. David nodded, studying the tactical displays. In the 5 years since Earth's expulsion from the Galactic Council, the Terran Alliance had grown beyond anyone's wildest expectations. Over 100 worlds, 40 different species, all working together through voluntary cooperation rather than forced obedience. Now their decentralized system was being tested by the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. "Sir," Commander Michael Thompson interrupted, "we have an incoming transmission from the former Galactic Council." The main screen flickered and revealed a figure David barely recognized. Councillor Vextar appeared on screen, but his usual proud bearing was gone. His 4 arms hung limp at his sides, and his voice carried obvious desperation. "President Clark," Vextar began, struggling with words that seemed to pain him. "The Council has voted to dissolve our government. We formally request Alliance assistance against the Sentinel threat. Our forces are inadequate." David felt no satisfaction in this moment. The galaxy was in danger, and old political disputes meant nothing when billions of lives hung in the balance. "Admiral Stone, coordinate with all available vessels, Council and Alliance alike. Dr. Roberts, what is the status of our countermeasures?" Dr. Helen Roberts looked up from her science station where holographic displays showed complex calculations. "The integration approach is working, sir. Human creative problem-solving, Zephyrian biological adaptation, and vegan pattern recognition are combining in ways the Sentinels cannot predict. We are developing solutions they have no programming to handle." Through the communication system, reports began flooding in from Alliance fleets across the galaxy. Captain Lucy Wright from the patrol ship Defiance reported successful defense of 3 colonies using new tactical approaches. The Zephyrian bioships were adapting their living hulls to resist Sentinel weapons. Kepler mining vessels were using their industrial equipment to build improvised weapons that confused the ancient machines. "Mr. President," Thompson announced, "we are receiving data from the research vessel Discovery. Dr. Patricia Williams has identified a weakness in the Sentinel programming." Williams appeared on screen, her laboratory bustling with activity behind her. Scientists from 6 different species worked together at stations that blended technologies in ways that would have been impossible under Council restrictions. "David, we found it," Williams said, exhaustion and excitement mixing in her voice. "The Sentinels were programmed to fight the warfare methods of their creators' time. They expect rigid formation flying, predictable weapon patterns, centralized command structures. But our cooperative approach confuses their targeting systems." She gestured to a tactical display. "When human ships use creative maneuvers while Zephyrian vessels adapt their biology and vegan artists apply intuitive pattern breaking, the Sentinels cannot calculate effective responses. They were never programmed to handle truly cooperative multispecies tactics." David felt hope rising. "Can we coordinate this on a galactic scale?" "Already happening," Williams replied with a tired smile. "The open communication networks we developed are allowing real-time coordination between hundreds of fleets. Every successful tactic gets shared instantly across all Alliance forces. We are learning and adapting faster than the Sentinels can respond." 22 hours later, the impossible had happened. The Sentinel network lay dormant across the galaxy, shut down not by superior firepower but by innovative thinking that emerged when different species worked together as equals. The ancient machines, programmed for the warfare of their time, had been completely unprepared for the creative chaos of true cooperation. In the aftermath, representatives from across the galaxy gathered at Terra Prime. The great assembly hall was filled with beings David had never expected to see. Former Council species that had maintained their rigid hierarchies for thousands of years were now requesting admission to the Alliance. "The vote was unanimous," reported Councillor Vextar, who now wore the simple clothing of a diplomatic representative rather than his elaborate council robes. 637 former Council species have requested to join the Alliance under your cooperative principles." David looked out at the assembled delegates. Beings who had once ruled through fear and control were now asking to be treated as equals. Species that had maintained separation for millennia were volunteering to share their knowledge and resources with others. "There are no rulers in the Alliance," David replied carefully. "No presidents or emperors or councils that make decisions for others. We work together, we share freely, and we decide things through voluntary cooperation. Are you prepared for that kind of change?" An elderly delegate from the crystal world stepped forward. Her crystalline form glowed with a soft, humble light very different from the angry red David remembered from council sessions. President Clark, she began, then caught herself. David. We spent thousands of years believing that control brought stability and order brought peace. But when the Sentinels attacked, it was chaos that saved us. Creative, cooperative, beautiful chaos that turned our greatest weakness into our greatest strength. She paused, looking around at delegates from dozens of species. We want to learn how to live that way. David felt a profound sense of hope. Not because humanity had won some kind of victory, but because the galaxy had finally learned that different did not mean dangerous. That cooperation was stronger than control. That sharing knowledge made everyone more powerful, not less. Welcome to the Alliance, he said simply. Now let's build something amazing together.